Hi, I'm Tim. Join me in this video as I discuss the new and improved free update process for your Part 107 license to fly drones or RC models commercially. Let's get to it. This video will cover the renewal update process for your Part 107 license if you fly RC models or drones commercially. Before you had to pay money, do it at an FAA testing center. Now it is free, it can be done at home. But first, let's go over a little bit of history of this, and we'll go into the specifics of this new updated renewal procedure for your Part 107 license. Several years ago, kind of came into focus about 2015, the FAA realized there were a lot of drones and some RC model aircraft that were flying into the National Airspace System. The FAA calls these UASs, or unmanned aircraft systems. It's a catch-all term for the drones and RC models. I think the drones are the main contributors to this because you can buy them ready to fly. They're very capable, and in the effort to take pictures, people are flying into areas where they just don't normally fly their RC model aircraft. So once there were a number of flights in controlled airspace without the FAA being aware of it, there was a realization RC modelers and drone pilots did not have the training to do this. So in coordination with Congress, the FAA had to focus on both a certification and training effort for UAS pilots to make sure that they're safe flying in the National Airspace System. Much like with full-scale aircraft, what the FAA did was divide pilots into recreational and commercial pilots. A recreational modeler, RC model or drone, is someone that flies just for their own personal enjoyment. There's no money being made or helping anybody else. If you are making money assisting another organization with your model flight, then that is a commercial operation. So recently in June of 2021, the FAA came up with the first certificate for recreational flyers. That's the TRUST program. That's the recreational UAS safety test. It's really a certification of training more than anything else. It's a free online test. You can get it at the AMA. It takes about 30 to 45 minutes, correctable to 100%. Everybody passes. And when you're done, you print out your TRUST certificate. That's your completion of the TRUST training for recreational pilots. There's no currency requirements. You take your test once and that's it. Now the Part 107 is really quite a bit different. The Part 107 first came out in June of 2016, where you could get a license. And this is a no-kidding FAA license for your drone or RC model airplane. It is a difficult test. It must be taken at an FAA testing center. There's about 700 of those throughout the United States. You apply through the FAA's IACRA system that you would for any flight test or formal FAA exam. You go into the testing center. It is a proctored test. You have to pay for it, typically between $160 and $170. The test is corrected at the testing center, and assuming you pass with more than 70%, you will get in the mail your FAA certificate, and you're good to fly. And so this is an actual FAA certificate. You notice on the certificate it says UAS is Unmanned Aircraft System Small, to differentiate it from the full-scale aircraft. You'll also notice that there is an issue date on the certificate, and that is an important date because 2 years after that issue date, per calendar month, the certificate is no longer valid to fly your drone or RC model airplane commercially. So for example, if you were issued a certificate in June of 2020, you've got to June 30th, 2022, where you are non-current on your Part 107 certificate. The idea of a currency for pilot certificate or license is quite common. It's what the FAA does, for example, full-scale aviation. As an example, if you own a Cessna 172, it's your Cessna. You obviously need a private license or above to fly it, and the private license you get is issued to you. The license is good for a lifetime unless it's revoked. But what happens is you have to have some other things to make sure that you're current to use that license. For a full-scale airplane, you've got to have a FAA medical. And also you have to have a ride with a flight instructor every 2 years, a biennial flight review, in order to fly by yourself in your own airplane. And furthermore, if you want to take passengers up in your airplane, in addition to the medical, the biennial flight review, you have to have 3 takeoffs and landings every 90 days. So a similar thing applies to the Part 107. It's good for 2 years after it's issued, but then you have to be recurrent after that time. Now, for the first 5 years that people are getting Part 107 certificates, you had to go back to the FAA testing center, schedule the test, pay your $160 every 2 years to get recurrent. And that was just a terrible burden on Part 107 pilots. Luckily, in March of 2020, that changed. The FAA has now converted the renewal training to an online training. There's a different website, faasafety.gov. The training is free. It's about 2 hours of study with an open book test correctable to 100%. When you complete that training and you print out the completion certificate, you're good for another 2 years to exercise the privileges of your Part 107 UAS license. This is actually a pretty good move on the FAA's part. Things are changing so fast in the technical world of drones and RC model aircrafts. Things like night flying, flying over people, remote ID coming up in September of 2023. It's good to have an agile online testing refreshing system for this. We can take these exams in the comfort of your own home and again, just print out the completion certificate and you're good for another 2 years. No need to go into an FAA testing center for these Part 107 license renewals. Let's take a quick look at the faasafety.gov website. I'll show you where you go to sign up for this training to do the renewals of your Part 107. We're not going to actually go too deep because you have to create an account and sign in, but I'll show you the starting point of how to do it. It's pretty simple. And again, you can do it in the comfort of your own home. This is the FAA Safety Team website, faasafety.gov, and there's a variety of things regarding safety. The WINGS program used by full-scale pilots for kind of a continuing education type of thing, featured courses, FAA YouTube. So there are several courses here. We'll go ahead and click on the one that's for us, non-Part 61, Part 107 renewal, Part 61 being if you're a full-scale pilot. So here's the description of the small UAS recurrent test. The cost is free. The overview, notice there's a login. You need to log in to start this test. So one final thing to think about with Part 107 flying is when you have a regular pilot's license issued by the FAA at any time can do what they call a ramp check. They can come up to you and just say, we want to see your license and your medical, and we have some questions. Maybe you did something they thought was wrong, you landed on a wrong runway. They don't need a lot of reasons to do that. Now, in my 50 years of flying, I've never had a ramp check for my license. However, if you're flying Part 107 drones, there is a chance you may have a check from the authorities on your license. The reason being is drone pilots taking their pictures and doing their various tasks go to a lot of different places besides a regular airport with the airport infrastructure. So it's important that you are aware that, first of all, a lot of people can ask to see your license and what you need to have. So what you need to have when you're flying your drone or RC model into Part 107, you need to have the license with you. I just keep it in my field box. If it's beyond 2 years of a license issue date, you've got to have the completion of your training to show that you are current to use that license. You also need a picture ID to prove who you are because there's no picture on the FAA certificate for the Part 107 flying. And be aware, into the law or the regulations passed by the FAA and approved by Congress, a lot of different people can ask to see these licenses. It could be FAA people, National Transportation Safety Board, the TSA people can ask to see your license. Also, any federal, state, or local police agencies can ask to see this documentation. Where this will probably happen if there is an accident of some sort, perhaps you lose control of the drone, God forbid it hits a person or damages some property, the local police will respond. They're getting more and more aware of what they can and cannot do with drone people, but they will need to see that documentation as they write out their reports on that. So thank you for taking time to look at this video. The good news is for Part 107 flying, it has to be renewed every 2 years. We used to have to go to an FAA testing center to renew it. It can now be done on home, online, and it's free. Just make sure you do that to keep current on your Part 107 certificate.